Dr. Ebeling is a professor of economics at Northwood University. Previously, he was the president of the Foundation for Economic Freedom and most recently taught at Hillsdale College and Trinity College. He received his PhD in economics from Middlesex University in London, England. Dr. Ebeling is a leading member of the Austrian School of Economics and writes and lectures widely around the world and has written hundreds of articles, received awards, and written several books. His most recent book, Political Economy, Public Policy, and Monetary Economics, Ludwig von Mises and the Austrian Tradition, will be published in December 2009. Let's welcome Dr. Ebeling.
Well, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Among the reasons that it's a pleasure, is that I'm living in the middle of Michigan, and I spoke to my wife earlier today, and it's about 53 degrees. And I, of course, said, "Oh dear, I'm so sorry I'm not there with you. I'm sorry I'm not home walking the dog. Today was garbage day to take out the garbage." But just between you, me, and I guess the camera, gee, I don't mind being here in the 80-odd degree weather. This is great. I don't know how much you follow American political events, but as you may know that a fellow named Al Gore was the Vice President of the United States under Bill Clinton. He ran for president himself. He's a Nobel laureate. He got a Peace Prize for solving the environmental problems the same way he invented the internet, as you know. And he's proposed that now that due to the global environmental problems, we need a global government. And of course, if there's going to be a one world government, there has to be a national anthem. And he now has proposed a national anthem for the global government. And he's felt that he wanted to honor his wife, whose name is Tipper. And the new global world national anthem will go something like this. Tipperty-doo-dah, tipperty-ay, more big government coming your way. Plenty of new taxes every darn day. Tipperty-doo-dah, tipperty-ay, Mr. Spotted Owl sitting on your shoulder. It's the truth, it's actual, everything is environmental, satisfactual. Tipperty-doo-dah, tipperty-ay, born to live your life the government way. So that's what we'll all be saying. Now, I'm sure many of you read in the press as a reminder that just 2 days ago was the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And those of us who remember that felt that a momentous change was occurring in global events. All of us who are a little bit older than perhaps a couple of those young men sitting at that table there, we lived our lives in the shadow of the Cold War. These two superpowers, the United States, the Soviet Union, threatening various types of dangers of global cataclysm. And I doubt many of us believed that we would see the end of the Soviet Empire in our lifetimes. And if we did see the end of this huge threatening Soviet Empire, that it would either have to come through some terrible and horrific global atomic war or some extremely bloody internal revolution and civil war that would occur within the Soviet bloc countries themselves. But what we saw 20 years ago was in fact the imploding of the Soviet Empire with, in general, pretty much virtually no loss of life. There was some. But with the unwillingness of the East German government to lock their people within that prison anymore that they called the German Democratic Republic, and the breaching of the wall, there was a sense that an earth-shattering event was occurring. 2 years later, in 1991, I was doing work as a consultant on market reform and privatization in the former Soviet Union. And in fact, for a while I was traveling in 1990 and 91. They're almost on an average of once a month, once every 6 weeks. I was mostly working with what was emerging as the new democratic government in Lithuania, but also with the Moscow city government and the Russian parliament somewhat. And on one of those visits, I was in Moscow in August of 1991, when there was, if you recall, that hardliner coup attempt in which Gorbachev, the head of the Soviet Communist Party, was held in his summer resort on the Black Sea. They attempted to kidnap, and they would have wanted to kill Boris Yeltsin. But instead, he made it to the Russian Parliament building, rallied tens of thousands of Muscovites, and in fact, my future wife, my wife is Russian, and I were there for most of those 3 days, facing KGB tank units. Luckily, the coup failed, partly because of the resistance of the population to stand up and face those tanks, and also the fact that neither the leadership and certainly not the military had the willingness to shoot any more into crowds of tens of thousands of people to maintain their authority. The day after the coup failed, which would have been, I guess, August 22nd, 1991, my future wife and I again were at the Russian Parliament building, but this time for a mass celebration of the people of the city. Behind what was then the Russian Parliament building is a huge square, which they called Freedom Square. And many of the advocates of a new democratic Russia spoke to this ocean of Russians. There must have been literally tens of thousands of them there. And Boris Yeltsin spoke, Andrei Sakharov's widow, Elena Bonner, spoke, Andrei Sakharov, the then deceased Nobel laureate and famous Soviet dissident. And then at one point there occurred a chant in unison from this ocean of Russians. Svoboda, svoboda, svoboda. Freedom, freedom, freedom. After 75 years of Soviet communism, the worst tyranny known in human history, a vast murdering machine that killed unarmed men, women, and children in the name of building a new socialist paradise, up to 64 million people between 1917 and 1986. And all of these people were shouting, freedom, freedom, because this nightmare was coming to an end. There was a sense that Russia might be on the path to becoming what they called us in the West, a normal society. No long lines for food, no dangers of what you said because it might be recorded on a microphone, no fears anymore of the knock on the door in the middle of the night and the secret police taking you away.